Hello, everybody. It's Dr. Rick here, dropping in on you. I'm excited because we're about to enter into a new series. We're doing some unbelievable things. Something that you've probably noticed about me if you follow me for any stretch of time. I'm real big on protecting traditional masculinity and guarding against the feminization of the male image. Now, obviously, growing up as a black man, my focus has always been on making sure that we're okay as men. But as a society as a whole, masculinity is under attack from multiple directions, from multiple agendas, for multiple reasons. And I think it's very clear, first of all, to define masculinity, to give men the encouragement to stand in their masculinity, but also to give you insights and mandates of what your responsibilities are in your masculinity. These sessions are going to be real brief. This one will probably be slightly longer than others because I'm introducing it, but they're going to be short so that you can grab them and run with them. We're going to do one a week. It's going to be on Mondays. It's going to be called Warriors Wisdom, Mondays Manly Mandates. And today's going to be 3 principles of manhood that guard your masculinity. And it's the infusing of a number of principles over a period of time, a number of practices, a number of behaviors, a number of things that are inherently a part of who we are, innately a part of who we are, embedded in our structure and in our DNA. And we need to know why we respond to certain things. We need to know why certain things bother us, and we don't necessarily know how to articulate what we're feeling. We need to know what all those things are. We need to know how to defend that, because the more that the male image is feminized, the more the man as a whole is emasculated. There is a sense of honor in our masculinity, a sense of our ability to function and protect. And I want to be very clear. One of the things that is going to be at the key in the foundation of this is principle number 1, which I'll get to. But I will tell you that this is not an assault on our women. This is not a stance to move against our women. This is about calling men to manhood. And and I want our women, our sisters particularly, to be aware of what's being shared here, because there's going to be a lot of information that you're going to learn that you didn't know about us, and in times about yourself. That's going to be imperative if we're going to truly become truly autonomous, powerful, truly effective. And it starts with the man being able to create the environment. Without the environment, things get out of whack. Without the environment, roles get confused. And these are things that I'm going to be touching on in the coming weeks on Mondays. But I want you to know this is about walking alongside our sisters, not going to war with them, not blaming them, not pointing fingers. It doesn't mean that there isn't culpability on both sides, but we're going to talk about the sense of responsibility and walking in our manhood, and how creating an environment that's conducive for healing and growth is the beginning of a process of empowerment. And we're going to do it from a space and a place of responsibility, not anger, not hatred, not blaming. We're not going to give no passes, but we are going to understand that we are both male and female coming from a very dark place in time. And we need to understand how we've been impacted by those things. We're going to go through all of this in the coming weeks, but I want to get to today's thing because I'm already 4 minutes in. Look, rule number 1, and I actually teach this to young black males that I work with in Black Men Lead. And the crazy thing is, this whole concept is the idea or the brainchild of a young brother that I am proud to call my adopted brother. I'm bringing him into the fold. Very sharp guy, brilliant mind. And he basically said, when we were talking yesterday, because we've been talking about ways to get a message across, and he stood up and said, "Hey man, we don't have warriors anymore." And he was speaking because he had heard an interview I did, and he heard me talking about it. But so I decided, man, we're going to do warrior wisdom. And here it is. So, rule number one, a man never causes harm to his woman. And in the principles of what I teach in Black Men Lead, which is my rite of passage for young Black boys, obviously we're focusing on Black men here. And it just simply says a Black man never causes harm to a Black woman or any female for that matter. But we start at home, and the entire spectrum of manlyhood is to first and foremost protect. Your first responsibility as a warrior is to protect. And I teach little boys this, that even when you're developing and you get to the point where now you're going through puberty and your testosterone levels are starting to climb and your voice is getting deeper and you're getting bigger than your female counterpart the same age, you're stronger than she is now, and there is a visible physical difference, and definitely there's a little more aggression attached to it. And I explained to him that physical advantage that you have, that aggression that comes along with testosterone, isn't to be aimed at her, is to ensure you can protect her. So before you're ever a provider, you're a protector. You are physically built to protect long before you develop the capacity to provide. So your first obvious natural responsibility is to protect, and you cannot harm that which you are supposed to be protecting. So that's principle number one. Principle number two, a man can never achieve his full potential if he's harboring hatred towards his closest ally. And there's a lot of that going around. And to be honest, it's coming from both sides. There's this gender war that's literally being stoked by others who literally benefit from our division and our disjointedness and our uh, uh, disintegration as a nucleus. And we are biting into it. And the easy thing to do in this world, in any spectrum or any area of life, is to point the finger of blame, to sit up and look for someone to blame for what is going on in your life. It's easy. So you sit up and blame. And what I teach my clients at the Visionetics Institute is you can take all day long and look at all the things that people have done wrong to you. And these are probably some legitimate complaints, but it doesn't change your reality. A reality changes when you take responsibility and accountability for your role in the situation, whether it was allowing them to get close to you, whether you didn't know who you were, whether you hadn't raised your standards, whatever it is. What I believe and what I know to be true based on what I've studied for years is that when we start to create environments that are conducive and safe, when we start to create environments that say you are protected, when we start to create environments that say no woman will be harmed under our watch, there will be a difference. When, and you got to understand, when there's nobody protecting someone, they will find and search for their masculine energy. Now, their feminine is their predominance, but if they have masculine energy, just like we have feminine energy. And what I was explaining is that we as warriors go out in a world that's inherently hostile towards us, a world that's competing with us, a world that doesn't want to see us win. And we have to go out and war, and we have to go out and gather. We have to go out and collect. We have to go out and get the things that we are supposed to be providing for our families. And there's a world out there that tells us we can't have it. So then we got to go out there and we got to find a way to go get it. So we have to put on our war hat. We have to grab our swords, and we have to go out there and wage war to ensure that the things we are responsible for covering, our wives, our children, and our extended family, can have what they need. And when we come back in, that feminine energy that we have is supposed to be for that moment when we walk through that door. We're supposed to hang our swords up on the wall at the door. We're supposed to shed our armor, and we're supposed to walk in a more softer space so that we can embrace our women and cover and love and be a part of our children's day. And that's what that feminine side that we have. It's not meant to be flaunted and moved and shared with everybody in the world. It's supposed to be. And the crazy thing is, what you'll find is you'll have us out there, and we'll be showing our feminine side and how we present and how we talk and how we handle things, how docile we are when we are being challenged and pushed by those who don't have us in their periphery. I mean, have us in their interests. We'll show them the south side, then come home and put on the armor in the house. being harsh and mean and rude and disrespectful to our women and disregarding and negligent to our children. And that's not masculinity. And let me clear this up one, and we're going to get through this whole definition of masculinity as we move forward. But let me explain something. Masculinity is not, there's no such thing as toxic masculinity. The first thing you have to get out, masculinity in its purest form is what? Protecting, providing, covering, spiritually, emotionally, psychologically, physically, edifying those that you cover. It means that them simply being in your presence means that they're lifted. You speak power to them. You elevate them. You talk power to them. You sit up and you encourage them. You give them what they need to be successful. Your masculinity is ensuring that the environment you create is conducive for the people you cover to win. Anything outside of that stops being masculinity and starts being toxic behavior. Toxic behavior can never be masculinity, because masculinity in of itself is the highest form of manhood. So let's get that clear. So that's the thing of, and finally, while a man is aware of his emotions, he is not guided by them. In other words, in essence, a man is never led by his emotions. His emotions are indicative of a current reality, but his wisdom, his confidence, his masculinity calms him and assures him that he has the ability to resolve or solve whatever issues in front of him. So he doesn't act out. Now, it doesn't mean that he does not possess the capacity for violence, but that violence is meant to defend what? That which he is responsible for covering and protecting. It is never meant for him to harm those that he's supposed to be protecting, but he never reacts, because see, there are times, because we have feelings like everybody else, the person you care about can say something that hurts you or do something, and in the natural response, because we have the capacity to exert physical force, is to respond physically. But the man who is in charge of himself gathers himself and understands his potential to damage things that he cares about if he can't control his emotions, brings himself into check. And then he thinks of the best way to resolve it so that everybody grows, everybody gets stronger, everybody gets better, and he holds his position of honor and respect, which is at the top of the list of masculinity. It's about walking in honor, doing the best you can. And none of us are perfect. So this isn't about perfection, but this is about striving to be the best provider, protector, and spiritual covering that you can possibly be for the people you love and the people who are dependent upon you. The leader, it is immensely important. So I've already gone way over where I wanted to go, but I had to introduce this to you so we can just start flowing with these things. And it's going to be, maybe the first couple will be more introductions into masculinity, but we're going to define it so you really truly understand it. But again, there's no such thing as toxic masculinity. Toxic behavior is outside of the masculine framework. Masculinity is everything we're supposed to be. When we start operating outside of that, we start moving away from our masculinity. The further we move away from it, the weaker we become, the less potent we become, the less powerful we become, and we start yelling and demanding other people to do things because we have relinquished the power to get it done ourselves. When we do what we're supposed to, we won't have to be demanding what we need or want or should have from women. When they begin to feel safe, they'll shed that masculine shell that they've had to put on, because there, look, 75% single family households in the Black community, and that's becoming an issue outside of the Black community, that we have literally lost the respect for honor and family and code and togetherness. And now it's everybody doing what they want to do, this individualism thing. And I'm going to get into all of that, but I had to give it to you. Thank you for checking out the first segment of Warrior Wisdom, Monday's Manly Mandates. Look, obviously we're going to do some tweaking and some sharing, some changing, and that eventually will be some post-production work done when we start getting these up. But right now, I just wanted to get that word out to you because I'm so excited to be on something that I'm so passionate about. If you know me, you know. So again, I want to thank you guys for stopping in. I want to encourage you to tell friends about this, because we're going to build ourselves. We're going to edify and encourage ourselves. We're going to hold one another accountable. We're going to become true warriors on this battlefield called life, because there's an entire world that needs us. There's an entire community that needs us. There are those that we have fathered, those that we have married, those that we are pursuing, that need us to be at the top of our game. And we're going to get there. On that note, I'm out of there. I want to really, truly thank you for all that you are doing. And on that note, take it easy. As I always say, I live my life on full so that when I leave this place, I die on E. Take it easy. Talk to you soon.